Every single day, 3.5 million pieces of content are uploaded to the internet. And out of all of that noise, less than 1% ever gets shared beyond the person who originally posted it. 1%. So what separates the content that spreads like wildfire from the content that disappears into silence? The answer has almost nothing to do with luck, and everything to do with how the human brain is wired. In the next 10 minutes, you are going to discover the exact psychological triggers that cause people to share content compulsively, why some videos make you feel like you have to tell someone about them immediately, and the one counterintuitive truth about virality that even seasoned marketers consistently get wrong. Stick around, because the insight we share halfway through this video will completely change the way you look at everything you consume online. To understand why content goes viral, you first have to understand the brain before the internet existed. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans survived by sharing information with their tribe. If you found a new water source, you told people. If you spotted a predator, you warned others. Sharing was not just social behavior. It was a survival mechanism. The brain rewarded you with dopamine for sharing useful, emotionally charged, or surprising information. That reward system never went away. It just migrated online. The first academic researchers to seriously study viral content were Jonah Berger and Catherine Milkman at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. In 2012, they published a landmark study analyzing over 7,000 New York Times articles to understand what made people share them. Their findings formed the foundation of what we now understand about content psychology. They identified 6 core principles, which Berger later packaged into the acronym STPPS. Social currency, triggers, emotion, public, practical value, and stories. This framework is still the most cited model in content virality research today. But the science goes deeper than a simple checklist. The brain processes emotionally charged content differently than neutral content. When you encounter something that triggers a strong emotional response, the amygdala activates, flooding the brain with neurochemicals. This heightened state increases memory consolidation, meaning you are more likely to remember the content and more likely to feel compelled to act on it. Sharing becomes a release valve for that emotional charge. You experience something intense, and your brain wants to externalize it. Here is what most people get wrong about emotion and virality. Negative content does not spread as reliably as positive content. Berger and Milkman found that content associated with awe, inspiration, and surprise consistently outperformed content built around anger or sadness. Anger can drive shares in the short term, but the psychological residue it leaves causes people to associate those negative feelings with the source. Awe, on the other hand, makes people want to expand their world. And sharing is the most immediate way to do that. But here is what nobody talks about. The most viral content is not the most extreme content. It is the content that hits the sweet spot between familiar and surprising. Psychologists call this the optimal newness hypothesis. The brain craves novelty, but it also needs a frame of reference. Content that is completely alien gets ignored. Content that is completely predictable gets skipped. Content that takes something familiar and twists it just enough to feel surprising, that is what gets shared. Think about the Ice Bucket Challenge from 2014. It raised over $220 million globally. Why did it work? Not because the cause was new. Awareness about ALS existed before. It worked because it combined a familiar social ritual, the challenge format, with an unexpected physical element, dumping ice water on yourself, and then layered in social pressure by tagging specific friends. Every psychological trigger fired at once. Social currency, emotion, public behavior, and a dead simple story structure. Within weeks, everyone from teenagers to former presidents was participating. The role of social currency cannot be overstated. One of the deepest human drives is the desire to be seen as interesting, knowledgeable, or ahead of the curve. When people share content, they are not just sharing information. They are making a statement about who they are. This is why insider knowledge spreads so fast. When you tell someone something they did not know, you feel smart. You feel valuable. The brain rewards that feeling, and you go looking for more content that will let you recreate it. This is also why how-to content and listicles have dominated the internet for over a decade. Practical value is one of the strongest sharing triggers because it allows the sharer to perform competence. Sending someone a useful article is a socially acceptable way of saying, "I know things that will help you." It strengthens relationships and social status simultaneously. Now let us talk about the role of timing and context, because this is where most creators make their biggest mistake. A piece of content does not go viral in isolation. It goes viral because of the environment it lands in. Berger calls this the concept of triggers, the environmental cues that activate thoughts and behaviors. Content that is anchored to a moment, a trend, a news event, or a cultural conversation has a dramatically higher chance of spreading because the environment is already primed for it. The audience's mental context is already warm. Research from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology published in Science magazine in 2018 found that false news spreads 6 times faster than true news on social media. The reason is not that people are irrational. The reason is that false news tends to be more novel and emotionally provocative than accurate reporting. It activates more psychological triggers at once. Understanding this is not just interesting. It is a responsibility for anyone who creates content at scale. The structure of a piece of content also plays a massive role in whether it spreads. Studies in narrative psychology show that the brain is not designed to process information linearly. It is designed to follow stories. When content is structured with a clear protagonist, a problem, and a resolution, the brain releases oxytocin, which increases empathy and trust. A researcher named Paul Zak at Claremont Graduate University found that oxytocin-triggering stories made people significantly more likely to donate money and take pro-social action. Stories are not just entertaining. They are biologically persuasive. Short-form content platforms have exploited this ruthlessly. TikTok's algorithm does not just reward content that gets likes. It rewards content that gets watched all the way through and then rewatched. The platform learned quickly that story-structured content creates loops that keep viewers watching. A video that opens a question in the first 3 seconds and answers it in the last 3 seconds will always outperform a video that front-loads its information. Suspense is not a stylistic choice. It is a neurological hook. Here is another counterintuitive truth that the data consistently supports. People share content that makes them feel good about themselves more than content that makes them feel good in general. There is a difference. Content that challenges you, surprises you, or makes you feel like you now see the world more clearly generates a specific type of satisfaction that psychologists call cognitive reward. It is the feeling you get after solving a puzzle or learning something that reframes your understanding. That feeling is intensely shareable because people want others to experience it too. This explains the explosive growth of educational content on platforms like YouTube and Instagram over the last 5 years. The audience is not just passive consumers. They are social learners who use sharing as a way to deepen their own understanding and signal their intellectual curiosity to their social network. Every share is both a recommendation and a self-portrait. The final piece of the puzzle is identity. Research consistently shows that people share content that aligns with the version of themselves they want to project to the world. Not necessarily who they are, but who they want to be seen as. This is why luxury brands, causes, challenges, and status-coded humor all spread through specific communities with remarkable efficiency. The content becomes a badge, a signal, a piece of social identity worn publicly. So what does all of this mean practically? Before you go, if you learned something valuable today, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to BuzzCore for a brand new video every single day. We will see you in the next one.